Good morning. This is John Sakowitz and Jay Johnson. Good morning, Jay.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Good, good. It's here we are doing our next show here on the truth about money. And before I go any further in the show, I want to thank our two engineers. We've done a bunch of shows without ever thanking them, and that's Rich Culbertson and Ryan Morris. So, guys, thanks a lot. Today's show is going to be on Iran, Iraq, U.S. Military operations, and the rising price of oil. And really, when I think this show is probably one of the most important things I've done in the last couple of years. I get chills when I think about it. I know our county's been fighting fires for the last few weeks, and KZYX has done a great job in reporting on the efforts to fight the wildfires. Our show is going to be about the possibility of other fires in the world, possibly even nuclear fires. If the United States or Russia or China or Iran or Israel makes one false move, one false step in the Middle East, in particular with Iran's nuclear development program, I think the world may be reporting on a very serious kind of fire, and I really want to thank our guests in advance for coming on the air with us and telling the truth about some very difficult subjects and really about some very secret subjects. The congressman who represents our district, Mike Thompson, is a senior Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, and I hope he's listening this morning. I hope his colleagues on the committee are listening. Our guests have a lot to report on, and we really hope that you take what they say to heart.
So let's get into the market recap, John.
Let's get into the market recap. It's been, we start off every show with a market recap, and since we were last on the air two weeks ago, the bloodbath on Wall Street has continued. The front page news on every newspaper in the country this morning is about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two biggest mortgage underwriting agencies. They're kind of quasi-government agencies, kind of public-private partnership type of agencies, are experiencing some real solvency problems. To put it in perspective, they have about $1.5 trillion in liabilities on their books. The United States government, although it's talking about a conservatorship or something along those lines to bail out those institutions, probably can't afford that. To put that in perspective, the Bear Stearns bailout was something on the order of $35 billion. There's no way, in no way, shape, or form can the United States afford to bail out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. It's going to be disastrous for the U.S. dollar, which has fallen by more than half in the last 7 years.
So, John, can you tell our listeners what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are?
They underwrite mortgages. So and they guarantee them. So when say you're going to buy a home and you live in Ukiah, right? Mm-hmm. So we say you're going to buy a home in Ukiah. Your local bank may originate the loan, but it's sold to Freddie Mae or Fannie Mac. Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. It's guaranteed by them. It's packaged by them into a collateral a mortgage obligation or something along those lines, and then resold to another financial institution that's basically looking to buy a bond-like instrument.
And do they sell to foreign investors?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And their instruments trade like bonds. The problem is that we have record foreclosures in the country, as you know. It's been driven by the subprime mess, which was driven by the very lack of the very shockingly shocking absence of regulations in these credit instruments during the Bush administration. Phil Gramm, who was the Senate leader, created pieces of legislation that act as loopholes for a lot of this subprime debt to pass through and enter onto the books of financial institutions without really any examination or risk management. Well, they've come home to roost. Paper that was sold as premium quality paper is now being recognized for what it is, which is junk. And here you have these two financial institutions, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac basically being left holding the bag.
You have any idea what percentage of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac paper is held by foreign investors?
I don't. I could get you that answer. I'm just curious as to why you're asking.
Well, it seems to me that the real estate boom in the last 6 or 7 years, a lot of that was led by, I know a lot of real estate agents, especially in the Bay Area and Los Angeles and some of the bigger areas, that were just extravagantly happy about the fact that, Japanese and Chinese investors are coming in and buying all this property, and they're not even asking how much it cost, and they just buy it at these great rates, and we keep supply and demand, we keep raising the price, and they keep paying for it. So I'm just wondering how much of this is an action on the part of some of these foreign governments to encourage this kind of bubble, so to speak, knowing that on the flip side of that, there's going to be this huge down. And I'd be interested in who is shorting these stocks, just like the people that were shorting the stocks after 9/11. Who's shorting any of these kind of paper carriers?
That's an excellent question. Number one, I've shorted them. And
you're just following, though.
And I'm also short Lehman Brothers, and we were also short Bear Stearns.
Right.
But I think in hindsight, it's always easy to say in hindsight. In hindsight, any idiot could have seen that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were good shorts. They had $1.5 trillion in liabilities, and yet when you looked at their books, they had less than $30 billion in what's called loan loss reserves. In other words, they did not have any cushion for the kind of write-offs that they can be expected to be taking in the near future. So when you don't have any loan losses, of course, you're going to experience a run on the bank. You're going to experience liquidity problems. Now, what you say, the scenario that you raise, that foreign investors could have been messing with real estate markets, could have been messing with financial instruments that were derived from the real estate markets, is an interesting scenario, because I've been writing for a while in my column at the North Bay Bohemian that the possibility of what I call financial terrorism is a very real and distinct possibility. It's a kind of a brand of cyber terrorism, if you will, because all global financial markets now are electronic or digital. So if you can imagine that the possibility of cyber terrorism is just a kind of corollary to that, it's just a little hop, skip, and jump to say that the possibility of financial terrorism is real, and it does exist. And in fact, the FBI has acknowledged in a memo about 2 months ago the possibility of financial terrorism. I'll dig that memo up and I'll read it on the air in a future show, but it's very, very scary. And the FBI is not simply acknowledging the possibility of financial terrorism as it may exist, as it may be perpetrated by international crime organizations like the Russian Mafia, the Ukrainian Mafia, but actually by terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda, that given the wherewithal on information technology, on